Welcome to the My Kayak Coach podcast series. This episode, the Ocean Kayak Seminar.
Introducing the panel, we've got Dean Gardner sitting there in the brown T-shirt. Dean's a 9 times Molokai winner, an international paddler. He travels the world paddling. We've got Murray Stewart on his left-hand side in the grey. Murray's a national kayak squad member for the last 2 years. He won the last year's 20 beaches. He also won national surf, which is no easy task. We have Yanda Nosita on the right, in the middle, but the rose between two thorns over there. Yanda's a 1996 Olympian in the kayak. She started paddling ocean racing about 9 years ago and won the 2005 Perth World Cup race. We have David Kassane on the right-hand side. Dave's one of the most persistent paddlers I've ever seen. He paddles anything, stand-up paddle boards, anything. I've seen him out on everything. Dave's done about 100 ocean races in the last 10 years, another international paddler. Won the 20 beaches. Jimmy Walker's the bloke in the yellow. Jimmy's our coaching guru for the evening. Jimmy's been represented Australia in the national and state kayaks. He's won nationals and state championships. Yeah, yes, 1996 Olympian at Atlanta. He's also N-Swiss and national team coach. So if you'd make them all welcome this evening. And chop, they're all part of the game when we're out in the ocean. And the best part of downwind racing is being able to chase the runners and find the swell or get through the chop. I'd just like to ask the panel this evening to give us some enlightenment on what you find on a downwind race. How do you chase a runner? What do you look for? Is there anything that you can tell us that will fill us in?
Just following on from Jimmy, I think the one thing that people who are pure kayakers don't realise is that you can be the most efficient paddler in flat water in the world and it won't actually necessarily help you so much in runners. Like, no offence, Dino, but you don't have the best flat water stroke in the world, but on runners, there are very few people who can beat him. And I think it's being able to read the surf and look 2 runs ahead and only really pull when you need to pull. So when, particularly in big conditions, you need to try and rest as much as possible. So if you're on the runner, the best example is last year in Dubai. There weren't big runs, but there were some runs out there, and Dean was feeling pretty terrible, and he was wearing a bicycle helmet with a camera on, and he went past Emmanuel Busto like he was standing still in the runs and was actually watching him over his shoulder as he went by, sort of waving and saying goodbye, because Busto was just powering into the run ahead and then falling back and powering into the run ahead and falling back. And Dino was just resting, paddling forward, resting, getting over it. So it's actually the one thing that I struggled with a bit was that you don't actually need to pull quite as hard as you do in a kayak. Like in a kayak, you're trying to pull as hard as you can on every stroke. Whereas on a surf ski, if you watch any of the top guys like Dean or Jeremy Cotter or Dave or Timmy Jacobs is another one, they don't have the most efficient pull on every stroke, but they tick it over a lot more, and it's not the perfect kayak technique, but it definitely saves a lot of energy in the runs, because you don't want to be working as hard as you can on every stroke when you're chasing the runs, only when you need to.
Chasing the runners is a good description because you are actually looking in front of you and not behind you. It's a little bit different to catching a wave because what's happening in front of you is creating what's happening behind you. So when you are chasing chop, if a lump goes past behind you, it causes a valley behind. If a lump goes in front of you, it causes a valley behind it, and that valley obviously has an upside on the other side, and that's what you're trying to get down. So if you've got a swell that's running along here, like you're going this way, and the swell's sort of coming across your right shoulder, and you can actually see it out of your right eye or to your right hand side. What you're trying to do is get yourself into that hole, so then you've got that wall of water which will push you down the front of that, and that's where you get your acceleration from. Now that's fine, that's what most people can do. It's where you go once you've got your acceleration, that's the really important thing. And what the really good guys do is they look for a hole in that swell that's in front of them to get through, to get down the face of that one. So it's constantly evolving and changing, and you're thinking constantly about getting from this point to another hole somewhere else, because your hole's not going to last forever. And all of this is finding holes and keeping your nose pointing down. One other thing is that if a swell goes past you, generally there's going to be more than one. Swells generally travel in little packs of 3, maybe up to 4. So if you miss that first one, don't be totally disheartened, because chances are there's going to be a deeper hole behind that one. The really good guys will milk all 4 of them, and that's where you go, oh, I saw him catch a run, and then he was gone. He was 100 metres in front of me. That's because he didn't just catch one run. He utilised the holes that those little swells were creating to keep his ski moving downwards the whole time. That's basically what I do. That's basically what I sort of look for.
As a coaching tip on what I would say to someone I was coaching, with the modern day technology that we have, there's lots of videos that we're even playing today. And there's one thing that the champions all do, and if you watch them on the video, they actually you'd think they'd come in with a sore neck, because they're looking left and they're looking right, and they're always steering left and right. The newcomer, just as Murray pointed out, he charges in front and then he nose dives. If you're nose diving, you're running, you've got to surf these swells, and they're always steering. I only went past Dean coming over to the Bondi race, and he was next to me, and then he was at the rocks, and then he was bouncing out, and that's the difference between the good people. They're choosing lines on the runners, and they're surfing the swells. And if you're nose diving, you're doing it wrong. And just have a look how they're always sitting on the run, and when they're on it, they're looking left and right to see where it's steeper for them to surf across, so you're not nose diving. So just take the time out and have a look at mykayakcoach.com. There's plenty of videos there.
The best tip that I ever got given was, if you're trying to get from A to B, and B is directly in front of you, is generally you don't go in a straight line. You have to be looking left and right and picking up each of the runs either side. So, when I'm coaching, I generally say to people, we're going straight forward to the beach, but, do let the boat go from side to side to pick up those runs, and always looking behind you.
I've been asking Dino for tips for about 20 years and he's never given me one. But he let slip once when he shocked us all and won a race, men's health race, to Clifton Gardens once. And I saw him at the end, and he'd beaten Tim, who was pretty much on fire. And the question that I just said, well, how did you do it? Because he was paddling like crap in training and he wasn't in the top 6. And anyway, his response was that he got a good start, but it's more than a good start. He got to, if it was from Manly to Clifton Gardens, he got to North Head first, and then it was really sort of a run into Clifton Gardens, and there were sort of those nice runs which go through into Middle Head there. And he basically said, look, I knew that if I didn't miss a run, that no one would catch me. And that's pretty much what I sort of work on when I'm sort of chasing runners, is that I make a decision to take a run, and there can't really be a possibility that you miss it, because if you do miss that run that you've made a decision to go for, then you'll drop flat and you can fill up with water, and it can stuff you for, it can put you 50 metres behind. So you've really just got to learn to make the decision when to go hard for a run and when not to go hard for a run. And if you don't go hard for a run, that's fine. You just sort of set your ski up for, getting a nice angle on the next one. But if you do go hard for one and you don't make it, then the chances are you go flat and you miss the next one. So, just if you're ever training on your own, just think, okay, well, this session, every run I go for, I'm going to get. So really, you're making the right decisions about the runs not to go for.
We hope you enjoyed that episode, and thank you very much to the Manly Warringah Kayak Club. For more episodes, please tune in to www.mykayakcoach.com. Thank you.